Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I am Arjun Chaudhary. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Thursday, the 17th of December. Major clashes between Afghan forces and Taliban in Helmand province. ISRO launches 6 Singaporean satellites. And employees of Pakistan's national carrier PIA protest against privatization moves. And now for all the details. After initial ambiguity, the Pakistan government cautiously welcomed Saudi Arabia's initiative of forging a 34-nation coalition to fight extremism. The country was taken by surprise when its name was announced as a member country in the coalition, apparently without taking Islamabad on board.
Pakistan has confirmed its participation in a Saudi-led military alliance with caution for fighting terrorism. The development comes amid reports that Islamabad was not consulted on its inclusion in the group. However, Pakistan added that the scope of its participation would be defined after Riyadh shares the details of the coalition it was assembling. Pakistan welcomes the formation of the 34-nation alliance to counter terrorism and is awaiting further details to decide the extent of its participation in different activities of the alliance, Pakistan's Foreign Office said in a sort of explanatory statement. The 34-nation coalition announced by Saudi Arabia on Tuesday has reportedly been formed for coordinating and supporting military operations against terrorism in Iraq, Syria, Libya, Egypt and Afghanistan. Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir had later explained that the participating countries would themselves decide about the extent of their participation.
The protest by the employees of Pakistan's national airline for its planned privatization is growing by the day. Pakistan authorities recently announced plans to privatize the Pakistan International Airlines to avoid losing out on state's coffers.
Employees of the ailing Pakistan International Airlines are planning to organize a huge rally later this week to mark its opposition against its planned privatization. The employees have been protesting ever since an ordinance was promulgated by President Mamnoon Hussain on December 5 in this connection. While PIA workers are demanding the ordinance be retracted, political opponents accuse the government of bypassing parliament by opting for a decree over an amendment that would require lawmakers to vote.
ना PIA से और ना पाकिस्तान से ज्यादती होनी चाहिए। PIA एक कौमी असासा है और इसको प्रॉपर तरीके के साथ अगर चलाया जाए, एक गुड गवर्नेंस के साथ, मैं समझता हूँ नासिर जाफर साहब में सारी कैपेबिलिटीज मौजूद हैं। अगर उनको फ्री हैंड मिले तो मैं समझता हूँ ये एयरलाइन बिल्कुल स्काई रॉकेट की तरह ऊपर जाएगी।
Pakistan is in need to privatize bleeding state companies in return to IMF bailout after the monetary organization in 2013 agreed to lend $6.7 billion to Pakistan over 3 years. Many feel privatizing the PIA is one of the measures towards this. The PIA's accumulated loss stand at $2.29 billion by December end, and its service has hit low with flights being regularly cancelled.
Major clashes broke out between Afghan security forces and Taliban in the Washi district of southern Helmand province of Afghanistan on Thursday. Local sources said that at least 20 security personnel till now have been killed and many have been captured by the militants. Many outposts have also fallen to the insurgents. The clashes have broken out a day after the United States and Britain had reportedly deployed over 4 special operations teams to Helmand to fight the rising insurgency in the province. Taliban recently has taken at least 4 districts in Helmand province under and now threaten areas bordering the provincial capital Lashkar Gah. A US report has stated that Afghanistan's overall security deteriorated in the second half of 2015 with an increase in effective insurgent attacks and higher casualties in Afghan forces.
The Pentagon report has cited that even though the Afghan forces have maintained a significant advantage over the insurgency, militants are improving in their capabilities to find and exploit the forces' vulnerabilities. Their new strategies continue to make the security situation fragile in key areas in Afghanistan and are also keeping other places at risk. The 96-page report mentions that the casualties among the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces, or ANDSF, raised by 27% from January 1st to November 15th as compared with the same period last year. The number of effective attacks by Taliban across Afghanistan during the same period has increased by about 4%. The Taliban have remained active in their traditional strongholds, namely in Helmand in the south and Logar and Wardak in the east, and also created a sense of instability for brief periods of time in other parts of the country, such as in Kunduz in northern Afghanistan, the report mentions. The report also cited the growing momentum of Islamic State in Afghan soil, which is said to be recruiting formerly Taliban-aligned fighters.
Moving on, India on Thursday said the impact of US interest rate hike would be minimal in the country. This is because Indian economy is better placed than its rivals. A report.
Economic experts said that India is more insulated to Fed-related volatility than any other emerging economy due to its better economic fundamentals. The US Federal Reserve hiked interest rates for the first time in nearly a decade on Wednesday, sending out a positive signal about the revival in the world's largest economy.
We're really well cushioned on the macroeconomic side, so inflation is coming down. Our fiscal deficit situation is very good. External situation is also robust. So I think that for all these reasons, I think the impact on India should be relatively minimal. Yeah.
Analysts say India is in a better position than most of its rivals and could actually see a gain in the bonds and rupee markets.
As far as India is concerned, there could be a slight impact on our stock markets because there was a section of people connected to the stock market who had fears that the Fed may not hike it to 50 basis points. Since the hike is only 25 basis points, so there could be a very small rally, relief rally in our stock markets.
With this, exports of farm products, handicrafts and IT is likely to become more attractive. India's favourable economic growth makes it attractive for foreign investors.
Staying on news from the country, the Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, has added Singapore as its new client for commercial satellite launches. ISRO launched 6 Singaporean satellites with its Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle.
The PSLV C-29 that carried the 6 Singaporean satellites was launched from India's southern island of Sriharikota on Wednesday. A little more than 18 minutes later, the rocket ejected the 880-pound Stelios-1 into a 345-mile circular orbit. The other 5 satellites, 2 micro and 1 nano satellite, were put in orbit within another 3 minutes. ISRO Chairman A.S. Kiran Kumar announced the mission a success soon after the last of the satellites was precisely put in the orbit. It was the PSLV's 32nd flight and the 31st consecutively successful one. The satellites were launched as part of the agreement entered into between ST Electronics, Satcom and Sensor Systems Singapore and Antrix Corporation Limited, the commercial arm of ISRO. So far, Antrix Corporation has done successful deals with 20 countries, including of the US, the UK, Japan, Germany, Switzerland and Korea, and launched more than 55 foreign satellites for them.
Bangladesh observed its 45th Victory Day to pay tribute to the martyrs of the Liberation War of 1971. Bangladesh became an independent country after fighting it out with Pakistan.
Bangladesh celebrated its 45th Victory Day amid a colourful military parade in Dhaka on Wednesday. The nation remembered those soldiers who lost their lives in the Liberation War of 1971 against Pakistan. President Abdul Hamid and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina were among top dignitaries to grace the function. Then known as East Pakistan, Bangladesh became an independent country in 1971 following a 9-month war with Pakistan. About 3 million people were killed in the war.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Major clashes between Afghan forces and Taliban in Helmand province. ISRO launches 6 Singaporean satellites. And employees of Pakistan's national carrier PIA protest against privatization moves. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.